Furījingu is a Japanese manga written by Dall-Young Lim and illustrated by Kwang-Hyun Kim. The series revolves around the invasion of Earth by an extraterrestrial force called the Nova, and a special force of genetically engineered young women called Pandoras, and their male partners, called Limiters, who are created to combat them. It centers on Kazuya Aoi, a limiter whose late sister was a Pandora, and Satellizer el Bridget, a Pandora with a cold personality who is known as the Untouchable Queen due to her intense aphephobia. Both enrolled at West Genetics Academy, a training school for Pandoras and Limiters. Furījingu began serialization in Kill Time Communications' seinen manga magazine Comic Valkyrie in its March 2007 issue. The first collected volume was released on October 17, 2010, with a total of 17 volumes sold in Japan as of January 29, 2013 under its Valkyrie Comics imprint. On August 12, 2010, an anime adaptation produced by ACGT was announced, and aired 12 episodes in Japan between January and April 2011 on ATX and other channels. The anime is licensed in North America by Funimation Entertainment, who released the series in August 2012. A second anime season titled Furījingu Vibration premiered on October 4, 2013. There are currently 3 spin-off series based on the world of Furījingu being published. The first spin-off, called Furījingu, First Chronicle, was serialized in Comic Valkyrie from the November 2011 issue to the March 2012 issue. The second spin-off, called Furījingu, Zero, began serialization in the May 2012 issue of Comic Valkyrie. A third spin-off, called Furījingu Pair Love Stories, began serialization in the April 2013 issue of Comic Valkyrie. Synopsis. Set in a slightly futuristic world, Earth has been invaded and is at war with aliens from another dimension called the Nova. In order to counter them, Pandoras and Limiters, genetically modified girls with super fighting skills and their male partners who use special freezing powers to limit their opponents' mobility, are made to fight against the Nova. The series focuses on Kazuya Aoi, a limiter whose late sister was a Pandora, and Satellizer el Bridget, a powerful Pandora with a cold personality, both who are enrolled at the West Genetics Academy, one of the many academies where Pandoras and Limiters are trained. In spite of the warnings of all his friends about Satellizer, who has intense aphephobia, Kazuya decides to be her friend and limiter. They are later joined by Rana Lincoln, a Pandora from Tibet in search for her limiter who believes Kazuya to be her soulmate, sparking a love rivalry with Satellizer. The story follows Kazuya's relationship with Satellizer, the students of the Academy, and Earth's war against the Nova. Media, manga. Written by Korean main author Dall-Young Lim and illustrated by Kwang-Hyun Kim, Furījingu began serialization in Kill Time Communications' male-oriented Japanese manga magazine Comic Valkyrie in its March 2007 issue. The first collected bound volume was released in October 26, 2007, with a total of 16 volumes sold in Japan as of November 2, 2012 under its Valkyrie Comics imprint. Furījingu is currently split into 2 parts, Part 1 which ran from Volume 1 to Volume 14, spanning 96 chapters. And Part 2, going from Volume 15 onwards and currently ongoing in Comic Valkyrie. Outside of Japan, Furījingu is published in South Korea by Hakusan Culture Company and serialized in Booking. In France by Bamboo Edition under their Doki Doki Manga imprint. And in Taiwan by Tong Li Publishing. A spin-off manga, called Furījingu, First Chronicle, illustrated by Jae Ho-yoon, began serialization in the November 2011 issue of Comic Valkyrie, and ran 4 chapters until the March 2011 issue. A prequel to the original series, the story centers on Chiffon Fairchild and Taisi Phenol's first year at West Genetics prior to them becoming student council president and vice president, and also explains the origin of Chiffon's title, The Unmatched Smiling Monster. First Chronicle was later released as a tankobon volume on February 29, 2012. A second spin-off manga, called Furījingu, Zero, illustrated by Soo Chil-jung, began serialization in the May 2012 issue of Comic Valkyrie. Like First Chronicle before it, Zero is also a prequel to the original series, chronicling the backstories of many Pandoras prior to them attending genetics, The first bound volume of Zero, centering on Kazuya Aoi's second year at West Genetics alongside Yumi and Elise, was released on August 29, 2012. A third spin-off manga, called Furījingu Love Stories, illustrated by Sohee Kim, began serialization in the April 2013 issue of Comic Valkyrie. Anime. An anime adaptation produced by ACGT aired on ATX between January 8, 2011, and April 2, 2011. The show aired uncensored in 4:3 format on ATX, while the airing on Tokyo MX and other channels were in 16:9 widescreen format, albeit heavily censored. Episodes 11 and 12 were pushed back due to the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. 6 DVD and Blu-ray volumes were released by Media Factory between March 23, 2011, and August 24, 2011, each volume containing 2 episodes and an original video animation called It'll Explode. Heart-pounding trouble layer and registered trademark Yen Freezing, as well as other bonus material. The anime is licensed in North America by Funimation Entertainment for simulcasting on their video portal. Funimation later gained additional licensing rights to the series, and released the series on August 28, 2012, on DVD and Blu-ray. A second anime season, titled Freezing Vibration, premiered on October 4, 2013, with a promotional video being featured at the 2013 Anime Contents Expo and the show's official website. Funimation will also simulcast Vibration on their website. The opening theme for the series is Color by Maria, a cover of a song that was originally sung by the Vocaloid Hatsune Miku, while the ending theme is To Protect You by Eiko Kobayashi. A CD single containing the 2 songs was released by Media Factory on February 23, 2011. For the second season, the opening theme is Avenge World, and the ending theme is The World Embraces Scars. Both are performed by Konami Suzuki. Internet, an internet radio show called Izumi Kita and Aoi Uchida of Furījingu, West Middlefield Genetics Academy. Aired 6 episodes on HiBKI radio station between December 10, 2010, and May 13, 2011. The show is hosted by Izumi Kita and Aoi Uchida, the respective voices for Cleo Brand and Taisi Fino. Each radio episode features guest voices from the anime series. An internet video show called Furījingu, Genetics TV aired on Media Factory's official YouTube account. The show is hosted by Mamigo Noto and Kana Hanazawa, the respective voices of Satellizer el Bridget and Ronna Lincoln, and ran 8 episodes from December 10, 2010, to March 10, 2011. Terminology: General, Pandora, girls who have been genetically modified to be able to utilize stigmata, which endow them with incredible speed and strength. They are capable of materializing their own unique weapons called Volt weapons, made with a special material called Volt texture which is activated through their stigmata. The Volt texture heightens and improves a Pandora's senses such as hearing and eyesight, and allows them to make quick clothing changes or repair any damaged clothes. They also have the ability to regenerate lost limbs, though this shortens their lifespan due to rapid cell growth. Limiter, the male partner of a Pandora, whose primary role is to neutralize the freezing field emitted by a nova so that their Pandora may attack them. Limiters also have the secondary ability to generate their own freezing field which can be used to restrain other targets, including low-level novas. In order to use these abilities, limiters must be implanted with one of their Pandora stigmata, allowing them to synchronize their senses. In order to ensure better compatibility and synchronization between limiters and Pandoras, a limiter is always younger in age. Stigmata, a special tissue created by reverse engineering from nova cell cultures, which gives superhuman powers to Pandoras and limiters. Usually these tissues are implanted into the user's back, but some individuals, like the Aoi siblings, possess a high quantity of stigmata tissue inside their bodies, giving them special abilities beyond the norm. This is known as a stigmata body. Due to the fact that stigmata came from the nova, there is a chance it can take over its user and turn them into a nova as well. Baptism, a ceremony in which a Pandora officially acknowledges a limiter as her partner, giving him her stigmata to be implanted and creating the bond known as an Aryan bar set. This is usually done in the form of a first room invitation, where a Pandora invites her chosen limiter to her room to perform it. Eerie and bar set, when a Pandora and limiter synchronize their brain waves to allow the limiter to use his freezing abilities and ultimately, increase their fighting strength. This can only be achieved if the pair performs a baptism. Nova, interdimensional aliens that are invading Earth. Usually they have attacked Earth in intervals of around 8 years, but the most recent attacks have been more frequent. Novas appear as standard, resolver, and supreme types. They have the ability to freeze anything within its radius of roughly 100 meters, and only by attacking the core can they be defeated. Novas are armed with extensible spear-like tendrils, energy shock waves from their face, and their core can fire an extremely powerful energy beam. Evolution Pandora, also known as E-Pandoras, the Evolution Pandoras are candidates from the E-Pandora project, an experimental project formulated to expand the Pandora program to people with limited stigmata compatibility. The E-Pandoras are quite different from regular Pandoras in terms of background, being orphans, homeless girls, or child slaves, all placed in the program as expendable subjects. After an embarrassing exhibition match involving the regular and E-Pandoras showcased the vast difference in power, the controlling administrators authorized drugging the E-Pandoras to get immediate results. The drugs raised their capabilities to normal Pandora levels, at the cost of rapidly losing control of their stigmata, making them at best suicide soldiers. Valkyries. The Valkyries are second-generation Pandoras introduced in Part 2 of the manga. They are the results from the Valkyrie project, a successor to the now-defunct E-Pandora project, who utilize artificial stigma called injection stigmata, which gives them the abilities of the original Pandoras but without the dangerous side effects found on the original and E-Pandoras, such as corrosion. The Valkyries consist of Lucy Renault from France, Franca Porsche from Germany, Christina Vora from England, and Theatins Ferrari from Italy. Their leader is Uka Tenjuin, Kazuya's maternal cousin and Fianca copyrightee who goes by the alias of Honda. The Valkyries' last names are taken from their country's respective automotive manufacturers, Renault, Porsche, Lotus, Ferrari, and Honda. Injection stigmata, an artificial version of the stigmata introduced in Part 2 of the manga that allows people with low compatibility rates to become Pandora. Injection stigma can also be safely disposed of without the user suffering any side effects, thus making it easier to safely insert more of them when they run out. This, in turn, also acts as a fail-safe against corrosion, a common problem among the original Pandora that turns them into Nova forms. Skills and abilities. Pandora Mode, a powered-up form used by higher-ranking Pandoras. In the manga, Pandora Mode takes form of a powered armored suit, while in the anime, the Pandora have physical changes. Despite the visual differences, in both versions Pandoras in Pandora Mode gain increased strength and power, as well as having the ability to move in the opponent's freezing grid without aid from a limiter. The Pandora's Volt weapon also gains an upgrade while in this state, turning it into a Nova weapon that is powerful enough to defeat low-level Novas. Also, it has been stated that Pandoras are forbidden to use Pandora Mode other than in actual combat with a Nova. Despite its advantages, the downside of Pandora Mode is that Pandoras can only maintain it for 3 minutes, and once the time limit is over, the Pandora will return to her normal but in a severely weakened state, which leaves her vulnerable to attacks. Axle Turn, one of the 2 high-end skills developed by Kazuya Aoi, which increases a Pandora's speed, allowing for quick evasive maneuvers and high-speed attacks. Variations include double axle, triple axle, and quadruple axle, which are used by higher-ranking Pandoras. Some weaknesses for the axle turn is that the Pandora is left open for counterattack if she is not quick enough and the lag time between turns. If a Pandora's lag time between turns is too long, she can easily be stopped by a Pandora of greater skill. Satellizer, Arnett, and Cassie are well-known users of this technique, with Cassie being the most skilled. Satellizer displayed the ability to use quintuple axle, a variation of the axle turn that far surpasses Cassie's quadruple axle, being able to make Tempest turn like copies of herself through sheer velocity. However, it is not considered a high-end skill since she can only use it while in Nova form. The Valkyries possess their own legless version of axle turn called Takine Axle. Tempest Turn, a high-end skill which allows a Pandora to create 4 copies of herself and attack simultaneously from all angles. Cleo and Ingrid, as well as Rana and Charles, are proficient users of this technique, with Charles being the most advanced, being able to create up to 10 copies of herself with this technique. Julia also appears to be a Tempest Turn master. She is able to instantly create 2 copies of herself and attack a charging Rana Lincoln from 2 different angles, in contrast to her starting point. Illusion Turn, a high-end skill which increases a Pandora's speed further than Axle Turn, giving the impression that she instantly teleports from one point to another. Used by the Student Council President Chiffon Fairchild and her successor, Tyce Phenol. Wings of Light, a rare power displayed by very few Pandora that enhances the Pandora's abilities. By unlocking the holy gates in their stigmata, they draw out more of their potential, increasing their healing rate, and also can be used to heal others. However, as noted by Rana, it is a double-edged sword to the user's body. So far, the only known users of this skill are Rana and Satellizer. Nova form. Nova forms are Pandora Nova human hybrids as a result of a Pandora stigmata going berserk, infecting and turning its host into one, or if a Pandora is assimilated by a Nova and infected with a Nova stigmata. Nova forms are dangerous foes due to the fact that Pandoras have no control over their bodies and are acting on their Nova instincts. Not only do they possess both skills of Pandoras and Novas, but also new skills like turning their arms into weapons and the ability to fire a high-powered energy beam. Nova forms are the reason why there is a limit on how many stigmatas can be implanted into a Pandora to reduce the risk of going berserk. Their existences was a highly kept secret at Genetics until the 10th Nova Clash, when the Nova assimilated a group of Pandoras and infected them with their own stigmatas. While Nova forms that were infected by the Nova can be returned to normal by destroying their Nova stigmatas, those who turn into Nova form as a result of their stigmata going berserk are not so lucky, as they can never revert to their original form. However, the only exception is Satellizer and Rana are the only known Pandora to have turned into a Nova form and returned to normal thanks to Kazuya. Genetics and Chevalier. Genetics, special schools that train Pandoras and Limiters to combat the Nova. There are multiple genetics branches all over the world, including 2 in Japan, East Genetics and West Genetics, the latter being the setting of the manga and anime. Chevalier, elite Pandoras and Limiters who serve under the military. A Pandora with exceptional skills can join the Chevalier after graduating from Genetics. Their headquarters are located at the Grand Canyon, and was led by Mark Spencer. Following the 11th Nova Clash and Mark's imprisonment, he was succeeded by Howard L. Bridget, Satellizer's father. Carnival, a monitored all-out battle royale event to determine Pandora ranking. Any battles conducted outside the Carnival does not count towards a Pandora's rank. Pandora Project, a project developed by Dr. Scarlett O'Hara to create a new generation of Pandoras without the need to be genetically compatible to have a stigmata implanted. The project was approved by the Chevaliers following the 10th Nova Clash and the need for more Pandoras for future Nova Clashes. However, the problem is not without controversy, as throughout the globe the project is seen as human experimentation with questions on whether the process of turning a normal person into a Pandora is safe or not. It was later revealed that the Pandora project was a front for Dr. O'Hara's real project, which was the creation of numerous Maria Lancelot clones. The Pandora project was later terminated following the events of the 11th Nova Clash at the end of Part 1 with Dr. O'Hara and Mark Spencer, the then leader of the Chevalier, imprisoned. It was later succeeded by Project Valkyrie at the beginning of Part 2 of the manga. Project Valkyrie, a project founded by Dr. Gengo Aoi in Part 2 that serves the same purpose as the Pandora project, which was to create a new generation of Pandoras without the need to be genetically compatible to have a stigmata implanted. Unlike Dr. O'Hara's project, which uses inhumane methods such as the injection of performance-enhancing drugs to enhance stigmata compatibility, The Valkyrie project uses artificial versions of stigmata called injection stigma to produce bolt weapons safely. Injection stigma can also be safely disposed of without the user suffering any side effects, thus making it easier to safely insert more of them when they run out. This project was Django Oi's original project, one of 6 he proposed to Howard L. Bridget 20 years ago, and one of 2, the other being Pandora, that was supposedly the best available. Aoi originally recommended this project over Pandora, citing the dangers of the Pandora project, but L. Bridget favored the Pandora project over Project Valkyrie. Reception: the anime adaptation of Furījingu has received mixed reviews. Anime News Network gave the series a B overall, stating as is, "The series is nowhere near as bad as its premise suggested it could have been, and comes off a little better in the end than the initial impression it gives, but its appeal is still not going to extend much beyond the normal crowd of fan service and graphic action aficionados." Notes. References. External links: Furījingu at Comic Valkyrie, Furījingu, First Chronicle at Comic Valkyrie, Furījingu, Zero at Comic Valkyrie, Furījingu Pair Love Stories at Comic Valkyrie. Official anime website, Furījingu The official anime website from Funimation, Furījingu at Anime News Network's Encyclopedia.